Hey guys, it's Stygian here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we're doing another episode of the Sword and Sorcery Book Club. Today we're looking at Conan number 18 by Jim Sub with art by Danica Brine and colors by Joao Canola. So, this is the end of Danica Brine's run on Conan for now. So this is the second issue in the two-issue arc that Jim and Danica worked on. Next, after this, issues 19 and 20 will be a new arc, and they're going to be by Jim and Doug Braithwaite. And then after that, we're going to have Fernando De Nino take on Conan for a while. I'm not exactly sure, but my understanding is that that should be a 4-issue arc. I did have a conversation with Jim Sub earlier today. It should be out on the channel by Sunday. And then he didn't mention that Fernando De Nino's stuff is really going to be very, very awesome. So I'm looking forward to it when it comes out. So let's get back onto Conan number 18. Danica Brine is the artist, like I said, and I know that some people had issues with her art last time. I personally didn't. I liked it. Is it my favorite kind of work or art style for Conan? No, not really, but my opinion on it is that the last issue was really a focus on Bêlit. It wasn't really about Conan, and so having an art style that really showcases, this very pretty character, which is Bêlit, in a very nice light, is good. And it also managed to be, pretty and sensual without necessarily being very, male-gazy. I don't really like that term, but it's the easiest way I can kind of describe what I was trying to say. So, yeah, and I think that she did a good job in this issue. Since this is a more action-oriented issue, maybe a different artist could have been better, but then you wouldn't have this, well-understood, process that they have already established, which is that an arc happens and the arc has a single artist for that arc, right? And if it's part of a larger story, that's different, right? If they had broken that up and given this to a different artist, I would have not liked it, because the fact that you have so much switch in the art so often, which we already kind of do, but in a different way. If you had switched the artist out, if you had switched Danica away from here, it would have been pretty bad in my opinion. It would have not looked good, and it would have caused me to kind of get pulled out of that. So I'm happy they kept her, even if it's not necessarily stuff that she's super comfortable with, or stuff that maybe could have looked better with a different artist on, in charge. But she did manage to make it look good. I did enjoy myself reading this and reading through the artwork here. But since this was a fight-heavy issue, I can see where some of the people that complained last time might have more of a opinion I agree with than before, right? But, it is what it is. Let's talk about the actual storyline here. So it opens up with a flashback. We see Conan as a young man, and we see his first interaction with Stygian magic. He is trying to steal something. He finds a Medusa head, and he interacts with it in some way. And he finally, or for the first time in his life, interacts with this Stygian magic and understands that it's inhuman, it's dark and dangerous, but it is also divine in some way, right? And using this female Medusa head is a very inspired choice, in my opinion. I think it's cool because Shuma Goroth, right, the character that was introduced at the end of the Battle of the Blackstone, is this planet eyeball thing that is writhing with snake imagery on top of it, right? Or tentacles and stuff. And so having Medusa, who's a very similar concept, be the character that shows Conan this inhumanity, this divine value, was pretty cool. I thought it was very nicely done. I quite liked it. I think that Jim chose this well, and Danica executed it phenomenally, right? So we finish the flashback, we get back into the current time, and we see that Bêlit really wants these Stygian goodies that Tarnasha had told her about, right? And Conan really doesn't want to deal with this. He's like, you know what, Stygian magic, let's just get away from it. It's not good, right? But Bêlit is technically in charge of Conan in this case, since he is her corsair, right? She is in charge of the ship, and he technically works for her, even though he's her lover. And so in this case, he has to follow along with her, and she's really not going to be deterred. So I think Conan did the right thing and kind of just let it go, and was like, okay, I guess we'll go do this, right? Conan does still put up a bit of a token resistance, and Tarshana and Bêlit kind of steamroll him, and they're like, okay, screw you, we're gonna do this anyways, and Conan just says okay, and they go on to do this, right? So they go out for lunch in the city. Tarnasha tells them the information about, what the thing is, where it's found, who's in charge of it, all of this stuff, and they do this while they're eating, and they set up a plan. It's not really explained to us super, in detail, because we're about to see it play out. So it's not about it's not about that. It's about developing this camaraderie between the three characters that will eventually be broken anyways, because we'll see, right? So they set up the plan. They wait for nighttime, and when it is nighttime now, Bêlit walks up to the guards dressed in kind of like a belly dancer outfit, and she talks about the fact that she is a whore, or like a pleasure mistress, or whatever you want to call it, for Labradicio, who is the character that owns the Stygian item that they want. And she goes in, and she kind of has like a troubadour troupe following her. She has like entertainment following behind her, and so using that and the fact that she is supposed to be the whore for Labradicio, who is their owner or the leader of this group, she manages to pressure the guards into letting her in, right? And we transition away from them at this point. We get inside. We see that Labradicio and a Stygian character called Nassim are talking, and they're talking about the Stygian item, and it turns out that the Stygian item is a special knife that has two blades that are kind of entwined, and so it looks like fangs, right? So if you were to stab someone, it would have this kind of like fang puncture kind of feeling, right? And Nassim, being a Stygian, can tell that it is real Stygian steel or whatever, and it's called the Fangs of the Serpent. And the guards arrive, telling them that, hey, there's a whore outside waiting for you, Labradicio. Do we let her in or not? And he initially doesn't really know what's going on. And in the confusion, Nassim decides to betray Labradicio to not deal with paying him. And so he orders his men to kill him. And so Conan and Tarshana, who are up in the rafters, are seeing this happen, and they're like, well, I guess we got to jump in. The plan has changed. We're not really going to know, what's going to happen now. So let's just jump in and try to get the fangs for ourselves, right? And so they do. They jump in. They're, joining the fight. It's very crazy. Bêlit arrives, and, as a team, they manage to kill all of the Stygian soldiers, I guess you could call them. Nassim is the only one left because Labradicio and all of his men are dead as well. He grabs the knife, and as he does, something happens. I think he activates the magic within the serpent fangs or something, and he becomes a snake man, right? Like the characters that follow Tools of Doom in the Cole stories, right? So very cool stuff. He does look a little bit more like a lizard than a snake, but it's irrelevant. He does look like a reptile man, and the knife glows, and he stabs it into Conan's stomach. And he and Conan are fighting. They're kind of dealing with the fact that Conan is a very powerful guy, but this snake man, being empowered in this moment, is stronger. And he managed to overpower Conan for the vast majority of the fight. When Bêlit shows up, she grabs a dagger, and she stabs it into the back of the neck of the character, killing it kind of instantly by severing its spinal cord. And so the knife glows green and is stuck on Conan's stomach as Bêlit tries to administer first aid to Conan. She calls Tarnasha for help, and Tarnasha sees that, she's pulled the knife out, it's on the floor, people are going to come eventually, it's not going to be easy to carry Conan out, and she decides to bug it, right, to leave. And so she grabs the serpent fangs, and she grabs I think a weapon or something, and she runs away. And as she escapes, Conan and Bêlit kind of through the fact that they made a deal with her. Bêlit curses her name, and they have to fight their way out of there. And it's kind of hard for Conan, who's very, damaged. But they manage to get out of there. They hide. They get some cloaks to cover themselves, and then they go into her boat. And as they're there, Bêlit decides that she wants to chase down Tarnasha. She wants to send all of her men down into the city to take her out. And Conan manages to appease her and kind of belay her orders enough that she comes to her senses. And basically the idea is, hey, Bêlit, if you send all of your soldiers out or all of your pirates out, now when there's a lot of guards, we're going to get in trouble. So maybe wait, maybe this is not meaningful. Maybe we should just leave. And Bêlit initially wants to punish him for going against her. Then she realizes he's right. She decides that she's going to take a prize from him anyway, sexually. And then they go off into the sunset on the boat. And it's pretty fun. I actually really enjoyed this. We do have like a post-credit scene, I guess you could call it, where we see a character climbing the steps in this like set temple full of snakes everywhere. And he's climbing these steps as to sit on a throne. Now, I don't know who this character is. It could be Tools of Doom. It could be Tathamon. It could be, what's the other one? Cool and Gath. There's like a bunch of different characters that have magic. And I think all of them are somewhat Stygian. I'm guessing this is supposed to be Tathamon. Because he was Stygian, if I remember correctly. He has a serpent ring, right? But I'm not sure. If he is, that makes the most sense to me. But it was just really interesting. We don't get to see the face of the character. He has like a pharaoh hat kind of on. And there is this kind of like Hydra-looking set of snakes behind him on the throne, which are made of gold, right? And so that's kind of the end of the story. It was pretty well done. At the end, we have Blades of Red Brotherhood, which is the title of the essay by Jeff Shanks. This one is about Conan's career as a pirate and about some of the other characters that Robert E. Howard wrote that were also pirates, right? There's some talk about, what's his name? Beluga Blacktree or something like that. I can't remember the name of the character. He mentions Bran McMorn, which I didn't know was a pirate character. He talks about Malachi Grimm, who is a character that is honestly just a renaming of Solomon Kane, because the Solomon Kane story wasn't sold, and a few other things like that. And I think Jeff's work is always great. I really like it. I enjoy reading it. And then at the end, we have, I think it's Sean, interviewing Danica Bryn, or Danica Bryan, I don't know how to say her name, about her involvement in Conan, right? And I think this was maybe a response to some of the dislike that people had before. It's a way to humanize the creator. It's also a way to help people connect with her a bit. And it was also enjoyable just to me to read about her interest in Conan, which was maybe not that big until she got the gig. And then she read a few stories. She enjoyed doing the research for it. And she also modeled her a version of Conan on John Buscema's. And I'm not necessarily sure I see that. But, I understand what she means. I guess in this version, Conan does have kind of a specific style that seems more in line with some of those older comics. But I don't know. I thought it was fine. I did enjoy the interview. Overall, this issue was great. I really had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed the action-packed, storytelling. I like the artwork. I like the coloring. I do think that Danica Bryn's art style maybe is less fit for this sort of action story, but I don't necessarily think that it was badly done. I just think that maybe some of the complaints about her art style make a bit more sense in this context than they did in the previous one. However, I do think that she should come back to do more work on Conan and Conan-related properties here with Heroic Signatures. I would like to see her maybe do a black and white work in Savage Sword, maybe something short where, maybe Conan goes to a brothel or something like that. Something where her abilities to maybe really do these beautiful kind of female characters and backgrounds kind of shine. And maybe not something so long as this, right? This was like 40-something pages. Maybe something in the 10 to 15 page range would work really nicely for her, right? And João Canola's coloring is great. So overall, very nicely done. I think Jim really did a good job with this. It's not necessarily knock it out of the park amazing or anything like that, but it is a very competent work, and it was definitely enjoyable. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Conan the Barbarian number 18. I can't wait for issue 18. I think we're going to get to see Conan dealing with some jungle cats and stuff like that, so I think that's exciting. And look forward to the interview with Jim. It should be out by the end of the weekend if all goes well. So fingers crossed for that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.